articles she's written. But she is the founder and CEO of Novany. You guys have seen me send out emails in her regard as well, or forward them on, and I really feel that her platform and resources are something that could benefit all of us and our teams. So I wanted to get her on today. And Dana, we appreciate you taking your time to be on with us. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Tia. I'm so glad that we finally connected and that it worked out for everyone to be on today. I'm glad it all worked into your guys' schedule. I know how busy you are. You know, like my bio says, you know, I've been in dentistry for over 30 years. I've actually worked in 2 dental practices. So, you know, I have a lot of experience with with understanding how busy you guys can be. So I really appreciate the time that you set aside for going through this information today. So what we're going to do is, what I want to do is just kind of give you a sneak peek into maybe some of the things that you might not be using in Dentrix. This gives you an opportunity to kind of get a little tip sheet on the topics that we're going to talk about today. It'll give you a little bit of insight into kind of my presentation style, how I teach, you know, what platform that I teach from, and I'll allow, you know, you guys can ask questions along the way if you want to do that. Otherwise, we can just kind of save questions till the end. But I don't mind if you raise your hand. There's a little raise your hand on the GoToWebinar panel there. If you want to raise your hand, I can certainly call on you and you can ask a question, or you could type in your question in the questions tab. That always works really well. I always monitor the questions tab and the chat box, so you can post up information in both of those 2 sections. So I just put together the top 10 things that I think that you might not be using. I've done this webinar a couple different times in a couple different ways. And so what I think really works best is if I kind of go through like a summary of the top 10 features, and then I'll show you those things inside of your Dentrix software. That way you can get a kind of a better idea of what it looks like in Dentrix, because I always like to kind of show and tell. I always like to talk about it a little bit, give you a little preview about it, and then show you what it looks like in the software. And that way you can see, you know, where it is, where you might have been missing this awesome feature. And, you know, these are little things that I think make a huge difference in, you know, your work, and how you navigate the software and how you can optimize your Dentrix software. And, you know, so one of the things I really like about these features is that it helps really high level practices work better, work smarter, really using your software to the best of its abilities, you know, because the Dentrix software is super powerful. It has a lot in it. And what I find, you know, working with hundreds of offices throughout the year, I find that either they didn't even know this existed in their Dentrix software, or they've tried it and they say, oh, it didn't work for us. Or, you know, we tried that, we gave up on it, you know, or things like that. And so I hear that a lot. And what I really like to do is help you navigate the software in a more efficient way. One of my favorite sayings that I say to a lot of my teams is, my goal is to get you on the expressway as fast as possible. And, you know, I always joke around with my offices that I work with, and I say, you know, I love it when we can, on Sunday afternoon, we can take a drive through the country, and, you know, we get to see all the scenery and look around at the beautiful mountains and the trees. I said, but that's good for the weekend, okay? When you're in your practice and you're navigating your software, you want to get on the freeway and get on the express lanes as fast as possible, because I understand that time is everything for you guys. Okay, so what are these top 10 features that you might not be using? And the first one I tell people about is this find new appointment time. And, you know, because what I'm seeing a lot in practices now is that you are back at full speed. You know, you are seeing patients more now. I see that practices are busier and having a harder time finding openings to put patients, more so than it's ever been, you know. And so many of my practices are, you know, clicking day by day, looking for the first opening in the schedule to put a new patient, or find the first opening for a crown prep, or find the first opening for, you know, a recare visit. And we really can hone in on exactly what are we looking for to find, and how do I find that soonest opening in my schedule. So I think that's one of the first features in Dentrix that you guys might not be using. So I'll show you that as soon as we move over into the Dentrix software. The next one, I love this button. And the schedule next button is probably one of my favorite things. The reason being is I'm terrible with names, all right? And so whenever I have a patient standing in front of me, or maybe I'm on the phone with the patient and, you know, maybe they say, hey, this is Dana, I'm calling to schedule an appointment. Well, you know, within like 3 seconds, I've already forgotten their name. And or I have the patient standing in front of me at the counter, and I'm like, you know, we start talking about the appointment, we start talking about their kids or their weekend or something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this person standing in front of me? I absolutely have already forgotten their name. And so I think that this is one of the really easy ways that we can actually build the appointment before we start searching out for an appointment slot. So I'll show you what that looks like. Payment agreements. All right, now I know that most of you on the call are probably saying, well, we never accept payment plans, or we never allow patients to make payments. And the funny thing is every time, and this happens every single time that I start working with a practice and we're looking at their collection manager report, we're looking through the accounts receivable, and, you know, it's inevitable that we'll get to a name and the office manager or the financial coordinator, she'll say, oh, they're just making payments. They're friends of the office. They're just making payments. Or, you know, we'll get to names on the collection manager list, and they'll say, you know, oh, you know, we're just letting them make a couple payments. And the account is like 6 months old or something, you know. And so I truly believe that you are probably taking more payment agreements than you care to accept, care to acknowledge. So I think payment agreements are a really good way that you can manage payment plans so that you have a way of tracking them. And so we'll dive into those just a little bit more detail. Tracking gratuities and referrals. Oh my gosh, this is such a big one because we really want to know how our patients are finding the office. You know, are they being referred by existing patients? Did they get a coupon in the mail that maybe you sent out? Maybe this advertisement, this coupon book that you sent out in the Valpak coupon book thing. Do you advertise, you know, with your local sports clubs, or your do you put ads in your local newspaper, or do you use social media advertising? So tracking gratuities and referrals is so important because it helps you to know how your marketing dollars are really benefiting your practice, because we know that it's expensive to market for new patients. I know that it costs your practice 6 times more to attract a new patient than it does to retain an existing patient. So it's really important that you know where your new patients are coming from, so that you know how your marketing dollars are working, and if it's worth spending the money in that, advertisement when it may not be bringing in, an A patient. Sending to the Dentrix Document Center. So this is a printer driver, and I'll show you what it looks like. And this is going to help you decrease the amount of scanning that you do, because scanning is time consuming. Scanning takes up a lot of disk space in your software. Scanning is, you get piles. I'll go into offices and they'll have like these, piles of, or they'll have a box under their desk of things that need to be scanned, or they'll have a little binder next to their desk of things that need to be scanned, and then it just gets, weeks go by and things don't get scanned. So I want to show you just a faster way that you can get things into the document center without scanning. Perfect day scheduling. I think that this is probably one of my favorite features in Dentrix, because especially now, I recently did a webinar with our member group just a few weeks ago on the top 3 ways to get the entire team on board with perfect day scheduling. Because what I find is offices will try to do perfect day scheduling on their own, and then it fails, and they wonder why. They think that the feature, the Dentrix perfect day scheduling, is failing, when it's really a human behavior that we need to cultivate, or that we need to change the human behavior in order to get perfect day scheduling to really work. And so especially now when we have new team members coming on, the amount of turnover that we have in the dental practices right now is probably the highest that we've ever seen in our industry. And we have a lot of new employees coming in from other industries. They might be coming from, retail, or they may be coming from banking, or maybe they used to work in in the coffee shop down the street, and now they want to get into dentistry. And another webinar that I did with our members is we talked about how to onboard new team members. And it's really important that we give our new employees an onboarding time period, so that we can and walk them through our software, and so that they can learn our systems and learn our verbal skills. And if we don't have perfect day scheduling in place, then a lot of people don't even know where to put the patients, because there's no guide, there's no map. And so I love perfect day scheduling, because it gives not only your existing employees that have been in your practice for 10+ years a roadmap of how we want our ideal schedule to look, but it also gives you an onboarding guide, so when you are hiring new employees. So I love perfect day scheduling. I'll give you some more tips about that. Goal tracking. I'm a numbers girl, okay? One thing that you will learn about me if you join the membership, or if we ever work together one-on-one, is that I'm a numbers girl. I love reports. I love KPIs, your key performance indicators. And, if you have, multiple practices, or, just your own practice that you are wanting to understand the health of your practice, you want to get the pulse of your practice, then really understanding the Dentrix reports and how you can track your production goals in Dentrix is critical. And I'm just going to show you a super simple way on how to do this. So it's probably one of my favorite features, just because I'm a numbers girl and I always want to make sure that we're reaching our full potential. All right, the more information button. I was working with a team here locally in my local city here, and I'm in Denver, just north of Denver, and I was working with a team, and they just hired a new employee, and she came from an ortho office, So she had never used Dentrix before. She came from an ortho office, so she had a little bit of dentistry background. And she came into, now she's working in the adult dentistry side. So now she's moved from ortho to general dentistry. And she says, okay, when a patient calls, whether it's a new patient or an existing patient, what is the fastest way that I can get them scheduled? And so I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you the fastest way that you can get a patient scheduled, and you'll love it. All right, linking alternate cases. And this is more for the clinical team, but it also is extremely helpful for the admin, like the treatment coordinators, who might be following up on patients that have unscheduled treatment. So if you're using that amazing treatment manager report in Dentrix, then you will be going into the patient's treatment plan or the patient chart, looking to see, okay, why is this patient have unscheduled treatment? What's on the treatment plan? And when you link alternate cases, and I'll show you what those look like, then it gives you that tip off that, oh, my doctor gave this patient some options. So maybe they have a missing tooth, and they have an option between doing a bridge or an implant or a partial. And you can see very easily visually on the treatment plan that the doctor gave this patient options. And then as soon as the patient decides which option they're going to choose, then if the cases are linked together, it makes it super fast, super easy for you to accept the one that they're going to move ahead with. Which one are they going to schedule? All right, and so I'll show you that when we dive into our Dentrix software. All right, finally, I love patient-friendly descriptions. All right, our country is so diverse. You know, we have here in the Denver area, we have a high concentration of Hispanic patients. You know, in all areas of the country, we have a lot of different ethnic groups in our country. And so, you know, I have offices up in Eastern Washington where, you know, they have seasonal workers that come in and pick apples up in Washington State, and you know, and they see the dentist. And so using patient-friendly descriptions not only gives you a way to describe the services in more layman's language. You know, for example, if you look at the ADA description of a posterior, like a composite filling, it does not make sense at all. So if you print that out on the patient treatment plan estimate, they have no idea what a resin one surf post, whatever that is, the ADA description. They just have no idea what that even means. So patient-friendly descriptions allows you to change the description on the treatment estimate, or if you are printing out, you know, the estimate for the patient, it allows you to maybe write it in Spanish if you have a high Hispanic patient population, or you can just describe the composite fillings to say tooth covered filling. I mean, that's so easy. Then people really understand what that means. So that's another thing that I think is could be very help with the relationships with your patients. It really helps for them to identify what their treatment estimate really means. You know, what is this that I'm having done? You know, for scaling and root planing, we definitely don't want to have those scary words on our treatment plans. You know, maybe we want to change it to say, you know, gum therapy or periodontal disease therapy, or whatever you want to change it to. Those patient-friendly descriptions will really increase the case acceptance if patients understand more clearly what the treatment is. All right, so that's our top 10. We're going to switch over to my Dentrix software. This is my contact info if any of you want to jot it down. After our presentation today, I am going to send you all a little tip sheet on the top 10 things we talked about today, just so you have a quick reference of what we talked about today. And then I'm also going to send Tia, we're going to talk a little bit more about how to get you guys all in the membership so that you have these ongoing resources. Because today we're really going to just scratch the surface on some tips and tricks and maybe give you some pointers of things that you might not be using already. And then the membership really will be able to give you a much more of a deep dive into these topics. All right. So I'm going to switch over to my Dentrix software. And I'm going to pull up my appointment book here. I'm going to just turn my camera off during this part, just so you guys have a bigger screen. Sometimes when I'm in my Dentrix software, it can shrink it down a little bit because I am on a laptop, so sometimes the screen might look a little bit small. I want to make sure that you have a full picture of my software. So at the time of this presentation, I am working off of Dentrix 22.6, and I'm on 23.1. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. I am on 23.1. And so if you see some things in my screens that you might not have, it just means that we're on a different Dentrix version. And there are a lot of things that you might notice about my screen. You're like, what is that icon on the toolbar? I don't have that icon. And so I'm like, yep, you don't have that icon yet. So I can't talk about everything in an hour, so there's so many more things that we can deep dive into in a future session. I'm also on a tutor database, so all the names and contact info of the patients are all fake. There's no real patient data in here at all. I make up everything. Most of it's from the tutor database, but I think I have the Flintstones in here that I like to use, things like that. So. Okay, so first thing on the list was find new appointment time. I love this for if you are searching for like the first new patient block. And this kind of can go hand in hand with perfect day scheduling. And so if you are wondering what that find a new appointment time, and there's a little icon on the toolbar. Many of you may use this one a lot, locate existing appointment, but this find new appointment time, rarely do people know that it's there. This is extremely helpful for offices that are very busy. So if you are having a hard time finding appointments because you're clicking over into the little arrows and just flipping through day by day, looking for the first opening, then find new appointment time is really going to be helpful for you. So if I click on this little icon here, let me grab my little pen so you can see it better. This icon right here on the toolbar. So if I click on that, then you get an opportunity to search for what you are looking for. So let's say the patient wants an appointment with your hygienist or a specific provider. They want to be scheduled with this doctor. So pick the provider that you want. What operatories does that provider work out of? Maybe you select which operatories they work out of. You get to select what the parameters are. Maybe this patient can only come in on a Wednesday. That's the only day off that they have. They're looking for a 60-minute appointment. And then if you click on this search view button right here, then what it's going to do is it's going to give you a list of the first available opening. So in my software, my first available opening with my hygienist in either operatory 1 or operatory 2 is on March 22nd. So if I click on view, then it will show me where that opening is. And if I want to select that, then I just hit select and it will stay on that day for me. Pretty cool, huh? The other thing I like about this find new appointment time is I can also select like a particular perfect day block. So I can say, okay, I want to find my first new patient block, and I could select this block and it could go out and search for the first available new patient block. So it kind of goes hand in hand with perfect day scheduling. The other button that I love was our schedule next button. So this works really well if, like, let's say you have a patient on your schedule. Let me put my good friend Brent Crosby on the schedule for this crown as an example. So let's say that I have a patient scheduled and I post set completed because we did this crown today. And then he needs an appointment for his crown seat, you know. So if I double click on his appointment, click through my pop-ups here, and I use this schedule next button right here. So the schedule next button, you can use it for pretty much anything. Click on schedule next, it will just give me, let me see, do not show this to me today. It'll just give me a blank appointment, and then I can just create my crown seat, and I can put in, we need him for 30 minutes. I can attach my lab case if I want to, and then I can pin board it. And now he's sitting over here on my pin board, and now I can just go out, find him an appointment time, and drag and drop him into my schedule. So remember what I said about forgetting people's names? Well, if you go out and try and find him an appointment first, and then you're trying to build the appointment, you're like, oh my gosh, who's standing in front of me? I totally forgot who's standing in front of me. So I always like to build the appointment first and then pinboard it, and then I can find the appointment time. It just kind of makes sure, you know, kind of flips your thinking a little bit, but it is more efficient, and it can save you a ton of time that way. All right, number 3 was on our list was payment agreements. So I love payment agreements because when you create a payment agreement, then it's going to show you really clearly on the ledger right here, down here, that this family is in a payment agreement. And that way you can see very clearly on the ledger that the patient is making payments on their $1,185 balance. And that way you also have access to the payment agreement manager, which is, you know, you have this icon at the top of the toolbar. You either have this payment agreement manager on the ledger toolbar, or you also have it on the office manager toolbar. So it's really nice that you have a way of managing payment plans, because a lot of times I notice that offices, they keep payment plans in their head and they're like, oh yeah, that patient's making payments, and the patient hasn't made a payment in like 2 months. And you know, so this really gives you a systematic approach to managing payment agreements. And the other thing I love about payment agreements is if you are using Dentrix Pay, I don't know, Tia, if your practices, what kind of credit card merchant you guys are using, but if you're using Dentrix Pay, you will get a little box right here on your payment agreement manager that will allow you to add a credit card on file. So you could put a credit card on file so that when the credit card payment, when the payment plan is due, it will auto post that patient payment to the ledger. Let's see, Gret uses it. Okay, good. Sounds like you guys do use that. That's fantastic. I love it. Another nice thing about having using payment agreements is that those payment agreements can also show up on your patient billing statements. So, you know, I don't know if, I mean, we've never worked one-on-one together, but one of my systems that I do teach is I teach my offices to do billing statements every day. And also that I want to send us a billing statement to every patient, regardless of insurance, regardless of payment agreements, because I think it's really important that patients and guarantors are informed about what's going on with their account. It's just a courtesy statement most of the time, especially if you're still waiting for insurance to pay. I don't like withholding those statements to my patients because I want patients to be informed about what's going on with their claims, you know, and I do like for patients to see that their payment agreement, their payment plan payments are being assigned to their account correctly. That way they can stay more informed and they're more accountable for their account balance. Instead of offices hiding things from the patient. All right, tracking gratuities and referrals. So one of the cool things, I'm gonna kind of throw in an extra little feature that I love, is you can now make referrals add required for new patients right here. You can now require the referred by field when you're scheduling new patients, which I think is fantastic because a lot of times we forget to ask or we forget to add it to the account. And so when you're scheduling a new patient, we could require that field so that you do have to put in how they were referred. But the one thing I love about the report, I think this is it, is when you're tracking gratuities and new patient referral sources, this is one of my favorite reports. This is the referred by patient report. It shows you the patient's name and who referred the patient. So you can see here that Shelley Perkins referred Wilma Flintstone. You would be able to tell here if there was a gratuity given for that referral. Maybe you're giving like Starbucks gift cards, or you're giving a gift card to a local restaurant or something like that. So you can enter in here the type of thank you gift that was given to your patient for referring in another patient. And then it also shows you like how many patients that referral source has brought in, things like that. So this is a really cool report for being able to track your referral sources and how patients are finding you. All right, next on our list was sending to the Dentrix Document Center. Now this is a printer driver, and every one of your workstations should have this printer driver available. I do love it for treatment plans. So if I was going to print this treatment plan for the patient, and maybe I wanted to make sure I get it into the document center, then I would do a print preview first, and I can see, you know, does this treatment plan look good? Do I want to give it to the patient? Yes. And then I can print it to my document center. Now you can use this printer driver from anywhere. So for example, if you get a email from your referring doctor and you want to save a copy of the referral letter, you can print it from your email, print it to the Dentrix Document Center. It does a virtual print, which is cool. And then when you open up the Document Center, then it will, you can then attach it to the patient's Document Center using this unfiled documents. So here's my treatment plan. Oh, I'm just getting that message because I need to update my Adobe Reader. And then you can attach it to the patient's document center in whatever folder you want. And then, you know, maybe it's a treatment plan estimate, or maybe it's a letter from your referring doctor, whatever it might be. You can get documents into your document center without scanning with that printer driver. And a lot of team members just don't know that that's there. And I think that's one of the best features in Dentrix for saving time. All right, next on the list was perfect day scheduling. Okay, so you can see on my schedule, let me see if I can. You'll see that I've got some perfect day blocks. And what I love about perfect day scheduling is that it gives your team a map, a roadmap for scheduling to like the ideal day. And I think that it is very helpful so that it really doesn't leave any room for error. It really gives your team a guideline for where can we put a new patient, where can we put a crown prep, where do we have room for our 3 and 4 month perio maintenance patients, where can we put scaling and root planing, because those are usually the appointments that you are struggling to find. And, you know, perfect day scheduling can really help you meet your goals, whether your goals are to have 20 new patients per month, then you need 20 new patient blocks. If your production goal is, you know, for your doctor is $5,500 a day, and you need to meet that production goal, then how many crown and bridge blocks do you need in order to meet that goal? Perfect day scheduling can also help you make sure that you get out on time every day and that you are not running late into your lunch hour every day. So I love perfect day scheduling for helping you reach your goals. And like I said, I recently did a webinar for our members. We have a full perfect day scheduling course that has several lessons in it that will give you step-by-step instructions and recommendations on how to build out your perfect day. All right, goal tracking. Like I said, I'm a numbers girl, and so I love being able to look at my calendar and see what are the goals, what do we have scheduled, and I can create different views for whose goals do I want to look at. So when you look at this little calendar in the upper left corner of your appointment book, you'll notice that this is the calendar for all these providers. So you can create a view just for your doctors, just for your hygienists, maybe if you have a specialist that's coming in your office. So that's how it's going to calculate the amount of dollars that you have scheduled, what is the monthly goal, and are you above goal or below goal? So I love this little calendar. It's such a great little quick snapshot of what do I have scheduled for the rest of the month, and are we going to make goal? These goals can also show up on the Dentrix Daily Huddle report. So if you are looking at that Daily Huddle report every day, you can also see what have we produced this month, what do we have scheduled today, what do we have scheduled the rest of the month, and are we going to make our production goal for the month? And that's all included on this little snapshot calendar, or you can see that on the Daily Huddle report. All right, the more information button is kind of a little hidden gem. I was, like I said, I was working with a new employee at a dental practice. She just moved from ortho to the general dental side of the practice. So she moved from the Dolphin software, which is an ortho software, over to Dentrix. And she goes, what is the fastest way that I can schedule a patient? Or if mom calls and she says, you know, when are my kids scheduled? Or I need to schedule for my whole family. What's the fastest way I can do that? I said, well, the fastest way is just double click anywhere on the schedule where there, you know, there's not a patient. Just double click anywhere on the schedule. And I go, this more information button right here is going to be your best friend. And so when you click on the more info button, it's going to pull up the whole family. So you'll get to see Brent Crosby and Shirley, his wife. So, and then maybe there's kids in here as well. So you could see Brent is due. You can see when is he due for his next recare appointment? Is he scheduled? You can see when is his next appointments on the appointment book. And then if I switch over and I look at Shirley, I can see Shirley is overdue. She was due in August of 2023. Oh, that's coming up. She's not scheduled. She doesn't have an appointment. And her last appointment was January 5th of 2022. Now, remember that I'm working off of a tutor database, so this isn't like live data, so it might look kind of weird, but you get the picture that you can see future appointments, you can see due dates for the entire family all in one place. Now, if I wanted to schedule Shirley, all I have to do is double click on her name and I get that familiar appointment screen, so I can go ahead and schedule her for her appointment. All right, number 9, linking alternate cases. I love this feature because it really helps with a visualization of the options that your doctors are giving patients for treatment options. It also really helps patients to see, okay, I'm going to do this one or this one. And it also helps with estimating treatment plans independently of each other. So you can see on my sample patient chart here, I've got the bridge option and I have the implant option, and I've linked them together. And you can also see that on the tooth chart, it's not painting on the tooth chart both options at the same time. It's only painting the bridge option right now. You can see the bridge is on the tooth chart. That's because the bridge option has the little gold star on it. And if the doctor feels that the implant option is a better choice, then you can always make the implant option the recommended case, and then that's the one that will paint on the tooth chart. So linking alternate cases is a really great way for the treatment coordinators that are following up with patients who have unscheduled treatment to really be able to see what all the options are really clearly, visually on the treatment plan or on the patient chart. So this has been around for a very long time, and I'm surprised that most clinical teams are not using it. All right, last but not least, patient-friendly descriptions. And so you can enter in patient-friendly descriptions. Oops, sorry about that. With the, in the setup, we have the option for going into our procedure codes, and we can enter in patient-friendly descriptions either in, like I said, Spanish is very popular, so a lot of offices are going in and putting in a patient-friendly description here in Spanish, so they can use patient-friendly descriptions for their Hispanic patients when they do the treatment estimate, and then they can flip back to the English version for their English-speaking patients. So, you know, whatever might work for you guys. But this is where you can set up the patient-friendly descriptions. You can make it a little bit more layman's language, like tooth-colored filling of a cavity, one surface of a back tooth, typically caused by tooth decay. You know, patients really understand what that means. You know, they might not know what this is. Resin composite 1S posterior. Like, what the heck does that mean? So it really kind of gives your patients a little bit clearer verbiage so that they can understand it a little bit more clearly, or if they have to, go and talk to a parent or maybe their spouse, they have to describe their treatment plan with their spouse. It just gives them a little bit better way of describing what they need. Okay, so that was number 10. And looks like somebody from the Mary group had a question of how to link cases. And that is here under this link alternate cases. So right here is where you can link your alternate cases. So if you had 3 options, then you just click on the little chain link and just link them together. You can link up to 4 cases together at the same time. So you might have bridge, implant, partial, and flipper as 4 options for the patient. Or maybe you're doing amalgam versus composite. Or maybe you're doing a root canal crown buildup option compared to a extraction. So whatever you want to give the patient options, this or this, linking cases is really beneficial for that. All right, beautiful. All right, that was my top 10. And what other questions do you guys have
Dana,
for me?
a lot of our eyes went to, and I think it's probably because you have the newest update, but just wanted to verify that clinical notes, the signed and unsigned.
Oh, yes. In Dentrix 22.5, they added the signature manager.
Okay.
Yeah. So signature manager came about in Dentrix 22.5. Then they added some more functionality to it in 22.6.
Okay.
And then they added a little bit more functionality to it in 23.1. So yeah, that was one of the biggest updates at the tail end of last year.
Well, that's great. Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, any other questions that anybody has?
Well, hopefully you guys got some good tips. Do you feel like you got like a couple nuggets from today?
I know from my perspective, I do, and I feel like I probably say the same. I mean, this was very helpful, and it's nice to get someone else kind of navigating in Dentrix and how you go and where you're clicking for most efficiency. So that's great.
Yeah. So if all of you, I mean, we still have everyone on. Why don't you guys in the chat box or the questions tab just tell me what was your favorite thing that you saw today? If you could, out of the top 10, what was your number 1 favorite? Just put it in like the chat box. I want to see what your favorites were. You have a very quiet group, Tia.
Yeah, they are kind of quiet today.
Payment agreements. I love the more info button. Yes, I agree. Oh, next appointment. Awesome. Tracking referrals. Good. Well, it looks like everybody had a little bit different takeaway, which is great. So I'll send I think I should have everybody's email address that joined today. So everybody will get just a quick little 1 sheet on what the top 10 things were. And then you and I can continue the conversation of, how you want to proceed with getting everybody into the membership. And I'll let you have a huddle with all your office managers and see how we can move forward with that.
That would be wonderful, Dana. We appreciate that.
Okay, great. Well, then I will let all of you get back to your offices. I know you probably have a busy day scheduled, so I'll let everybody get back to their offices, and you have my contact info if you had any questions that came up today. I'd be more than happy to email you all back and answer any one-on-one questions that you might have.
All right, well, have a wonderful day, Dana. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.